Today I wanted to take a moment to do a video that I know a few of you have been waiting for. Here in front of me today I have a few different things, but I want to concentrate on these two black blades right here. Now each one of these things is something that I have reviewed individually in past, and I will go ahead and give you a link in the description for this video to each one of those older reviews in case you're interested in checking out either of these products on their own. But on this side I have a Ripper Unstable Dueling Black Pearl Blade. And on this side, I have a newer Kyberlight Crackle blade. Alright, now you'll notice a little bit of similarity between the two. Let me go ahead and give you a close-up. So a little bit of similarity when I ran it through the first time, and you got to see them with the light and the LED light off. But when I turned that light on the far side and started to pull them back, you saw that a lot of that similarity seemed to fade. So before I get to talking about these specific items and comparing and contrasting them between each other, let me get the elephant out of the room and talk about the history of these things, because I said that I was going to. So first off, starting with the Gary Ripper blade. Ripper blades has been around for quite a while. They started off, as far as I'm aware, doing flat acrylic blades, kind of like this. I've done a lot of reviews of their products over the years. They were the first really to get a handle on the idea of the dark blade as a transparent transparent acrylic. Now their stuff generally wasn't dual worthy until they came out with these dual ready lines. I think it's been a couple of years now, maybe 3. They came out with these dueling lines that were polycarbonate tubes, just like standard lightsaber blades. Except what Gary did is he painted them with a dye, and then he etched lightning through that dye to create sort of this ragged edged effect that you get right here. In the colored blades or in the clear blades, you would end up with a solid lightsaber blade, but it would just be bumpy along the edge. Somewhere down the line, he decided to make a black blade, and that's what this is. He used a black dye that the light shines through, but it creates discrepancies in the color, so that we've got dimmer up here, brighter down here, and we can see that sort of lightning crackle throughout. Okay. Now, much more recently, Kyberlight posted a video where they said that they were getting into the blade market. And what they came out with was, I think, 3 flat blades and this one. The 3 flat blades were starkly similar to 3 Ripper blades designs, and the outcry from the saber community was immediate and forceful. Eventually, Kyberlight ended up pulling those 3 flat blade designs for redesign. The biggest problem with them was that while the lightning pattern was different, the overall shape of the blade was pretty much identical to the Ripper blades. This was one of the ones that they did, the Spartan blade. They did this one, the Samurai 3000, and the Ninja blade. And the shape, the accents, the points was pretty much identical. The lightning pattern was different. There was a lot of drama in that sort of pulling these things off the market. The Kyberlight blades were very clearly taken design-wise from the Ripper blades, and the Kyberlight people tried to say, well, we were inspired by swords of antiquity and gladiuses and the like, which is fine, except for the fact that all of the points of accent were exactly the same. So I think they realized what they had done and that it was more than inspired, and they pulled them from the market, but they didn't quite fess up to it, which was probably not the right move. So the one that they left on the market, though, was this Crackle blade. And that has also drawn a little bit of heat because of the similarity between the two. But personally, I'll get to it by the end of the video, but I think leaving this one on the market was probably fair. As you can see, there's quite a lot of difference between the two when you see them up close and you see them lit. Alright, so I talked about the design or the construction on the Ripper blade. Let me talk about the Kyberlight blade as well. So the Kyberlight blade uses a similar idea from the Ripper blade. They took one of their standard blades. They don't usually diffuse their blades. They use a polycarbonate blend that they say is a proprietary blend. It's a little bit softer than other blades, but it does make it pretty durable. They took that blade and they printed a lightning pattern on top of it. Now, the way that you can tell that it's printed is that some of the lightning effects are a little bit pixelated. If you look at the review for this blade, you'll be able to see that. There's also a seam in the design along the length of the blade. It's somewhat subtle unless you're looking for it, but I show it in the other video. So if you want to see that seam that I'm talking about, probably can't see it here, but the seam is right along here. Now, one of the other things about this, well, actually I'll talk about the Crackle design or their proprietary lightning design in just a little bit, but they printed on the blade this design. So you got pixelated lightning and you got sort of a repeating pattern. And you get more of a gray tone because it's not paint, it's print. All right, so the construction is similar, and the look when they are turned off is very similar. You end up with a black blade with sort of whitish clear highlights in both cases. So let me get to the compare and contrast then. Like I said, as day blades in full sunlight, when the LED is off, these things are very much alike, and at a distance, when you can't see the pixelation in the Kyberlight, one is really as good as the other if you're dealing with distances of greater than 6 feet out of doors. The one advantage that the Ripper Blade has in terms of construction is the Ripper Blade has the ability to come in mid-grade as well as heavy grade, whereas the Kyberlight only comes in a heavy grade. So if you like mid-grade, then the Ripper Blade has that edge to it. If you like heavy grade, then in terms of a day blade, they are pretty much identical, but or pretty much interchangeable rather. So let's look at sort of a cross look at features. First off, let me cover color. Go ahead and give you that close up again. Okay, now between the two of them, I'm going to have to say that there is a clear winner in terms of color, and that would be the Ripper Blade's Unstable Pearl. You notice when I had it up close to the camera, the Unstable Pearl has sort of an organic color to it because of the paint. It comes through purple to green to gray in various places, whereas the Kyberlight is always just this matte gray from the print. So in terms of color, the Ripper Blade has a complexity of color that the Kyberlight Blade just doesn't have. Oh, one more thing I wanted to do before I stopped here was to show it to you. I've been showing it to you with white light because that's where it looks best. Let me give it to you in some different colors here so that you can see what you get here. First, the Ripper Blade. And now the Kyberlight. So again, with a solid white light, there's definitely a noticeable difference in terms of color on the Ripper. When you get to some of the reds and the blues, it's a lot less so because you're just dealing with darker and lighter shades rather than that diversity of color. In terms of design, something else that you will have noticed when I had them up there, on design I'm definitely going to have to give it to the Ripper Blade again. The Ripper Blade, because it is hand-etched in there through the black, is a much more organic and natural feeling lightning design, and Gary has been working on this over the years. It's very nice. He goes in with a bigger Dremel, I think, first, and does the broad strokes, and then he goes in with a smaller one and branches off lightning. The design is also not uniform throughout the blade. It starts off thick and broad down at the base, and ends up with a lot busier design up towards the tip. The Kyberlight Blade is a much more uniform pattern. While it is busier throughout, and it's got these flecks in there, which is something that I believe was trying to simulate something else that Ripper Blade has done with some of their their other blades, where they've put sort of a craft glitter inside to give it this speckled look. But the Kyberlight design is it's busier, so that's maybe a plus. But it is uniform from the beginning to the end. It's completely uniform. As a matter of fact, let me just show you a close-up of this blade real quick. I showed you that seam along the back in this one this time, but I also, those 3 places that I stopped my finger as I was going down the blade there, you can see that the pattern itself repeats 3 times as it goes up the blade. So it repeats vertically and it wraps horizontally. So for pattern, you definitely got to give it to the Ripper Blades, because these things are each one unique and handmade, whereas this is mass-produced and printed. Now the next point of comparison, I've given design and color very clearly to the Ripper Blade. Next point is cost, and cost is again no contest, but this is going to go the other way. The Kyberlight Blade costs about $50, and Kyberlight is pretty well known for shipping, really good shipping rates. They're also pretty well known for doing a lot of sales, like buy one get ones on blades. They've in terms of people like the Saber Legion, where you've got blades and you're just beating the heck out of them all the time, these guys have become sort of a go-to in a lot of circles, just because their blades are well manufactured, durable, cheap, and they do have a lifetime guarantee on the blade against cracking. Now, so for cost, all of that's at $50. Now a Ripper Blade like this one, this is going to cost you closer to $110. And Gary does do a lot of sales as well. They do some mystery boxes, you've got discounts for various groups, so closer realistically to $100 on something like this. But again, you've got a difference of about twice as much money. If you're looking for those extra features that I talked about the Ripper Blade having, then perhaps it's worth it. If you're looking for something to beat up, perhaps it's not. But in terms of price point, I'm definitely going to have to give this one to the Kyberlight. Next one is going to be about durability. Now, the Kyberlight is, because of that warranty, I'm going to have to give that to them as well. The Kyberlight is definitely more durable. If you get Gary to do a thick edge or a thick grade blade, he can do it as well. I do the thin or the medium grade blades, but the thick grade blades are pretty durable. The Gary Ripper Blade will be just as good as like a heavy grade blade that you get from Ultra Sabers or a Saber Forge blade. The Kyberlight Blade is actually a little bit more durable than that. The tip of the thing sinks down further than a lot of other blade manufacturers. Like I said, they use that slightly softer material, so their blade does have a lot more durability to it. Additionally, the pattern. Both of these blades, because of that paint on the outside or that printing on the outside, both of them, if they get scratched or damaged, you will go through the paint. The difference is that with the Kyberlight Blade, you have to scratch it for that to happen. Your hilt will scratch it up, you'll start to get holes in the black plastic. If you hit the blade on somebody else's, the hilt of somebody else's saber on a hard metal spot, you will start to get dings in the black. The Ripper Blade, eventually, the black does start to chip off from blade to blade contact. Now, in both cases, it's not that big a deal. You can see that in the Kyberlight Blade, it's got all that speckling in there. In the Ripper Blade, I'm of the opinion that if you actually end up scratching either of these things, you just make them more unstable, which isn't a problem for me. But if you want it to look the same way that it looked when you got it out of the box, the Kyberlight Blade is going to do that longer than the Ripper Blade, because the Ripper Blade will, I don't know if I can get you a close-up of it, but let me see if I can get you a close-up of some of the battle damage this one's taken over time. I don't know if you could see those very well, but the little divots that are in here are from blade to blade contact with this thing. And it just makes like a light spot in the black. And like I said, it's hard to see, but it is definitely there. So, pattern and color, again, go to the Ripper Blade. Price and durability, go to the Kyberlight. One other thing that I've got to hand it to the Kyberlight for is tip illumination. In addition to having that really deep threaded tip, I thought when I reviewed this, by the way, that the tip was fused in, but it is not, in fact. It just fits tighter than I'm used to them fitting, and I had to really wrench it to get it off there. But the tip illumination on the Kyberlight is actually really good, and it's got this really long thread depth, but it's got a shine-through mirror. So what that means is that when the light comes up the blade, it shines, or most of it hits the mirror, reflects back down the blade to help the blade stay lit. Some of it goes through the blade and lights up the tip, or through the mirror and lights up the tip. So you end up with an illumination that goes all the way up and goes through the tip, all the way to the tip of the saber. The Ripper blades, sometimes they have these and sometimes they don't, but you can see on this, the blade illumination goes all the way up, and then we've got this dark spot right here where the tip joins to the rest of the blade. All right, it just ends up kind of so that you can noticeably tell where the tip of the saber is and the rest of the saber is. So tip illumination I'm going to have to give to Kyberlight, as well as the tip durability, because the Ripper blades ones are glued in like an Ultra Saber's tip, whereas the Kyberlight ones are threaded all the way down. One thing that I do have to give Ripper for credit on the tip of these is that his pattern, he puts the tip on the blade and then he etches straight through. So the lightning pattern continues from the blade to the tip. The Kyberlight attempts to do that, but there's discrepancies because it's printed. It doesn't quite line up. There's a couple dead ends there. So, in terms of which one of these is the better product, you'll notice that 3 out of the 5 of the points that I talked about, I gave props to the Kyberlight Blade rather than the Ripper. Thing is, the 2 that I gave to the Ripper Blade are the most important 2. So in terms of which one of these is a better product, by far, the Ripper Blade is a better product. The color is better, the design is better, the artistry behind this is better. The options that you have are better because you can work with Gary and you can make specifications about the length of the blade and things like that. So the Kyberlight just is what it is. So in terms of versatility and quality, the Ripper Blade, hands down. In terms of a better product, it really depends on what you're using it for, because like I said, with the Kyberlight Blade, you get a much lower price point. And if you're dealing with day blades, outside, unilluminated, then either one will work. So really, I can't answer better product, or better buy, rather. I can answer better product, definitely the Ripper Blade, but you pay for it. He has to hand etch these. It's not like they're dramatically overpriced. I took a Sharpie once and tried to fill in some of this lightning on one of my blades with fluorescent Sharpie so that it lit up under blue, and it took me for freaking ever to trace over all of this intricate design that he's got here. So the man puts work in. You end up paying for that work, as you should. So once again, hopefully this has helped. If it has, please join me back for more reviews. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.